Thank you all for joining us this beautiful Louisville morning. Despite this gorgeous weather, we are here for a very somber reason. Irv Mays and I are here today because we've had enough. We've had enough of a politics as usual that focuses on partisanship and polarization, that focuses on cronyism and backroom deals, that focuses on ethical improprieties and results in investigation after investigation and investigation, and as a result misses out on some of the most important issues and misses out on some of the biggest outrages that are going on right here in the state of Kentucky. The outrage we're talking about today, frankly, is a disgrace, and it is a moral abomination. And that outrage comes from the fact that we have too many politicians that when they send off our best and brightest off to wars all the way across the world, they'll give them a salute, they'll give them a smile, they'll give them an attaboy. But when those troops come back and they take off their uniforms, they are often given the cold shoulder. Sometimes they're mistreated. And oftentimes their families are struggling just to make ends meet, struggling just to put food on the table. Now, the whole world has been transfixed in the last couple of weeks about what is going on at the Walter Reed Hospital and the shabby medical treatment that our veterans who have returned from Afghanistan and returned from Iraq are receiving after their brave and valiant service in those two conflicts. But it's not just limited to what's going on at Walter Reed. We are seeing the same problems, the same quality of care issues going on right here in Kentucky. They're going on at our VA hospitals across the state and in neighboring states that serve Kentucky, and they're going on at state-run veterans facilities. Just in the past couple weeks, we've learned about some of the real problems in quality of service going on right here in Kentucky at the Wilmore facility, the Thompson Hood facility in Wilmore, Kentucky. There's been a severe shortage of nurses, a severe shortage of primary care for our veterans, and as a result, our veterans have been suffering. Our veterans have been struggling to get the health care that they need and deserve. Now, Irv Mays and I, when we're elected, we're going to bring real change. Instead of being caught up by the stagnation, by the politics as usual, by the polarization and partisanship, we are going to focus on innovative solutions to deal with the real problems that our veterans and our military families are facing. Number one, we are going to make sure that our nurses who serve at our veterans hospitals in the state-run facilities here in Kentucky are treated with the same kinds of pay and benefits that they can get in the private sector. We have to deal with the shortages of nurses. We have to deal with the shortages of medical care, of good quality care for our veterans, the ones that we can affect. And Irv Mays and I will do that right away when we are elected. Number two, President Bush has called for a bipartisan commission to take a look at the problem at the Walter Reed Hospital and at the federal facilities going around this country. We need that same sort of bipartisan commission right here in Kentucky. And today I call on Ernie Fletcher to set up a bipartisan commission to take a good look at what is going on at our state-run veterans hospitals and facilities and to take immediate action to make sure that our veterans get the care that they need and that they deserve. I suggest that Governor Fletcher set it up right away. And if I were him, I would choose some very high-profile bipartisan people to serve as chairs of that commission. The first person that I would look to is Heather French Henry, who as Miss America 2000 used the issue of veterans to bring great knowledge all across this country, and since then has been the veterans' leading activist. Number three, we have got to go back to an idea that I introduced right here at this spot a few years ago, along with Congressman Ben Chandler, along with State Representative Scott Brinkman, a Republican, and along with Indiana Senator Evan Bayh, and that is to bring a military family's Bill of Rights to Kentucky. We should not allow our military families to struggle to make ends meet. There should never be a situation where our military families are struggling to put food on the table when their husband or their wife is overseas serving their country. Now, I'm proud to say that many elements of our military family Bill of Rights that we introduced right here at this spot a few years ago were passed by our legislature last year. We set up a military families assistance fund where charitable contributions can be given to help those families who are most in need. We ease the red tape and bureaucracy so that spouses of our military officials could get cut through the red tape and get their professional licenses right away. And we also ensure that more on-the-ground people, representatives of the Department of Veteran Affairs, would be able to be out in the communities helping our veterans receive the health care they need and deserve. But there are some things about that Military Family Bill of Rights that have not been enacted yet. And as governor, we will see to it that all of the Military Family Bill of Rights will be provided. Number one, we need to reestablish the Department of Veterans Affairs as a cabinet-level agency. And we would appoint a cabinet official to serve as Secretary of Veterans Affairs to give our veterans the respect that they need and that they deserve. Second of all, I would like to make it easier for families across the state to contribute to our Military Families Assistance Fund. I would like to see a checkoff on the tax returns to allow families to give parts of their tax returns so that they can, or their tax refunds, so that they can help contribute in an easy way, in a tax-free way, to help our military families. This is what Illinois has done, and they've raised $10 million. I'd like to see even part of that being brought back to the state of Kentucky. We'd also like to see more of our military officials being sent across the state to help our veterans access the health care they need and deserve. And lastly, we would like to see all active military in our state not have to pay income tax. It's only right, it's only fair. They don't get a large income to begin with, and they need to be able to use as much of that to pay for their own family's needs. But also, this would be a real economic boost for Kentucky. Tennessee doesn't have an income tax. And if you look at Fort Campbell, a great significant majority of the troops stationed at Fort Campbell live in Tennessee, partly because they don't have an income tax there. If we remove the income tax off of our troops, then I think many of those troops would live in Kentucky, would pay properties tax and sales tax and help our economies grow in Christian and Trigg counties. And so as a result, by doing good for these individuals, we'd also be doing well for our state's economy.
We have veterans in Kentucky that needs a lot of help, and what you suggest about the income tax is a blessing. And I did serve overseas in North Africa and Europe and every place, but the veterans, we were told when we were drafted in the Army on the military act that you don't have to worry about a thing. When you come home, the hospital belongs to you. Everything is free for your service. Go up there and try it now. You'll find out that's not the word. How often they forget about the men that fought in World War II that's still over there. My brother's one of them. So we welcome what you say.
Times have changed, and we're relying upon the National Guard, the reserves, and I took a chance on a young man who I wanted to see get through law school. He'd been called up to go to Afghanistan. I did something very unusual. I called the Supreme Court judge, found out that he had passed the bar, swore him in the day I think that he left. His job was secure. I think it's important to remember those that are serving in this capacity. And we're glad that Brandon's home. In fact, I canceled the trip to be there. It's one of the things that I will always remember.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Mays for all he did for my family, and I really supported my military service while I was gone. And I can't thank you enough. But also, there's just a lot of red tape in the system. I have received the care that I need, but there's just a lot of red tape, and I'd like to see that some of that red tape go away. And so I'm here to support all the veterans, and I think if you do all we can to help them after they get back from serving their country, and also our veterans that served in times of need in the past.
Well, thank you, and particularly thanks to our heroes here, our American heroes, our Kentucky heroes, including Debbie as well, who've made some incredible sacrifices. And it's shameful the way that many of these heroes are being treated. And in a Miller Mays administration, we're going to put their interests at the top of the list and make their benefits a very high priority.